And do you remember the Mills Hole story?
Absolutely.
My God, I was running that board and I'd never heard it before because he actually called in cold.
Are you serious?
And I'm sitting here because I was one of his affiliate stations, so I wasn't, directly in studio. I was just running the board from miles away. And every time we would talk, I'd talk to Art at least once a month. We'd talk about this, that, another thing. But I remember hearing that Mel calling in, and he called in as just a normal wild card call. Like, I think, and it wasn't anything that was scripted. It wasn't anything that anyone was expecting. In fact, I think his guest that night was not him, but he turned into the guest is what happened. I think they ended up rescheduling his main guest. And he just wove that tale, and it's like, damn, man, you mean you're dealing with that? And he was so convincing. And so, and then years later, I ended up talking to myself, Mel, about the whole. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on. Level with me. Level with me.
Well, whatever happened with that? Do you know?
In the paranormal war room, the legends arise. We're diving deep down where the truth never lies. Diving deep down where the truth never lies. Unravel the mysteries. Let the stories unfold. This beat, these tales are daring and bold.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Paranormal War Room. I'm your host, Corky, and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Joel Sturgis from After Hours AM Radio. Joel, how you doing, buddy? Why don't you just introduce yourself?
I am good, man. I got a face for radio and a voice for print, but I am here.
Awesome. Well, Joel, I know that you're a paranormal investigator, right?
Reluctantly at first.
Oh, really?
Yes, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get into that, I guess I should have asked you, what is After Hours AM? Is it like a coast to coast AM type show?
Yeah, it's a live iHeartRadio show. And so we broadcast, it's been around for 20 years, I want to say now we're coming up on.
Wow.
And been doing it a long time. I love it. I love live radio. Podcasting rocks too, because it adds a whole new dimension to radio that wasn't there before. I've been in the business of radio for well over 30 years. So I've kind of watched it all change and morph and, it's been awesome to watch as it's grown.
Awesome. I grew up listening to Art Bell with Coast to Coast AM. And so I was never brave enough. I was telling you before we started recording, I was never brave enough to try to do anything live on air like that. But, with podcasts, you can kind of go, you can go back and fix stuff like that. So, but it's fascinating to talk to somebody that actually does this for a living, man. So nice to meet you, man. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's funny because I knew Art Bell very well. I was one of his board ops.
No, you did not.
So me and Art, we would talk for hours. Him and I, we knew each other very well. I worked with him closely, and what a guy.
Wow.
What a guy. I learned a lot. Another guy I worked with, oddly enough, in radio when I was working down in Texas, was Paul Harvey back in the day. Do you remember Paul Harvey? And that's
Paul
the rest
Harvey
of
news.
the story.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this guy, get this. Paul Harvey would come in, what is it? Maybe once a month, right? And he had cut all those in one setting. Boom, 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 boom. And then got out there for syndication. That man would never do a double take. He would come in, read his copy, say it, and leave. He never had to do a redo, never had to do a retake, just boom, done. And I could never duplicate that. Ever. I tried.
Wow.
But he was just such a consummate professional.
Yeah, no doubt. Man, I find it fascinating that you were actually friends with Art Bell, because he's kind of like an idol of mine. I could sit and listen. I still listen to his shows nearly every day when I'm at work. But, what's that where they say there's like 7 degrees of knowing somebody or something like that?
Yeah.
So I'm getting pretty close to Art right now.
It was funny because I was running the board. And do you remember the Mills Hole story?
Absolutely.
My God, I was running that board and I'd never heard it before because he actually called in cold.
Are you serious?
And I'm sitting here because I was one of his affiliate stations. So I wasn't, directly in studio. I was just running the board from miles away. And every time we would talk, I'd talk to Art at least once a month. We'd talk about this, that, another thing. But I remember hearing that Mel calling in, and he called in as just a normal wild card call. Like, I think, and it wasn't anything that was scripted. It wasn't anything that anyone was expecting. In fact, I think his guest that night was not him, but he turned into the guest is what happened. I think they ended up rescheduling his main guest, and he just wove that tale. And it's like, damn, man, you mean you're dealing with that? And he was so convincing. And so, and then years later, I ended up talking to myself, Mel, about the whole. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on. Level with me. Level with me.
Well, whatever happened with that? Do you know? I mean, was it true?
He just fell off the face of the earth.
I know.
He was everywhere. He'd call in regularly to the show. Mm-hmm. And I'd talked to Mel a couple different times and just over the phone and stuff. I kind of got to know him, Mel Waters, a little bit.
Yeah.
And he never wavered from that tale of this whole, right? I always got one is like, come on, Mel, it's just me and you. Come on. Is this really happening? I guarantee it's happening. I'm 100% sure. And of course, it was such a fascinating tale amongst many others that Art had. Don't get me wrong, lots of fascinating tales, but that one sticks out in my mind because it was so blindsiding. So
I think they said he moved to Australia. That the government
he did.
bought the land.
Yes. Okay. Now the story's like this. Allegedly, and I say allegedly because I don't know. I mean, it very well could have happened that the government paid him $5 million a year to lease his land with his hole on it. So Mel decides that he's going to move to Australia, and so he was in Australia for I think 5 or 6 years, and then he was diagnosed with terminal illness. But the caveat was, if you ever come to the United States, you're going to lose all this money and what have you. So he decides he's going to come visit his son that lives in the States, thinking he could sneak in and sneak out. Well, evidently, according to the story, he did not. And they found out that he was in the States and he lost everything. But the stories that guy would just say, I really, we had that thing come out of the hole and there was a serpent and there was different things coming out, and it was crazy, man. It was just crazy.
I wonder if there was. I wonder, man, because you wonder if any of that was true. Then that's one of the main stories that sticks out in my mind. Another story that sticks out that Art used to do was I think his name was Bucky or something like that, and he claimed he shot a Bigfoot down in Texas.
Yes. Yeah, Bucky. Yeah, because he was another cold call. That's how that began.
It was just open lines now.
It was just an open line. And he's like, hey there, I shot myself a Bigfoot. And it's, what? Do tell. That whole thing. But those are great. I mean, that was radio gold, man. I mean, that really inspired most of us, what we're doing today.
Sure did me.
Sure did me. If it weren't for Art, we wouldn't be here.
Yep, that's most definitely. Well, one kind of show Art always did was around Halloween. He would do the whole Ghost to Ghost AM.
Ghost to Ghost AM,
yeah. And that's I still listen to those today. But that's what I like to do on this show. Is I like to talk to paranormal investigators, Bigfoot hunters, anybody that's got some of those cool stories, paranormal wise, that's happened to them while they've been out doing their thing. So that's what I'd like to hear from you tonight. I know you investigate the paranormal and all that good stuff. So I know you got some good stories, man. So I'm going to sit back and listen.
Well, boy, where do I begin? That's the hardest part. Where do I begin? I didn't set out to become a paranormal investigator. I really didn't. Right. What it was is I was working for a radio station. And there was this, at that time, do you remember the TV show called Sightings back in the day?
Yes.
This
absolutely
predates Ghost Hunters, all the TV shows are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sightings was, at the time, I was working at a radio station in Texas. And they said, hey, we need one of you guys to go out with the Sightings crew. And you guys are going to go investigate the claims of the Chupacabra. That was big in that area. And I was the low man on the totem pole, right? So I'm fresh out of college. And so they look at me and they go, you're going to go with these people and you're going to go look for the Chupacabra, but you're going to do it live on radio and you're going to tell us what you're finding. So I end up going, all right, well, I don't really know what a Chupacabra is, or even if I saw one, would I know what it looked like? But okay, let's do this thing. So we go out looking for the Chupacabra. And of course, we're interviewing, they're interviewing people. And then, it's the goat sucker. It's going to do this. It's going to do that, which, whatever. Right. So we're in the woods, as much as woods as you can get in Texas. I mean, it's not like the great big North Woods where I am, but there's some woods. And we are looking for the Chupacabra, but we end up finding a Bigfoot. And we were with the sightings crew.
Really?
Yeah, dude, if this wouldn't happen to me, I would.
That's a big
I wouldn't
difference
believe
right
it,
there,
right?
ain't it?
Right. So here I am, the would-be paranormal investigator, would-be cryptozoologist, just a kid, scared of what the hell's going on around him.
Right.
And we're in the woods, and who did we have with us? I think they had not Norm Coleman, but Lauren Coleman at that time with us. And he was on the show. And of course, at that time, he was the father of cryptozoology. And so he'd done it all, kind of thing. And so we're in the woods, and he grabs a stick. He knock, knock, knock. I'm thinking, we're looking for the Chupacabra. What are you doing hitting this for? Well, this is also Squatch territory, and I want to see if we get a response. And I am sitting there inquisitively listening and reporting back to the radio station, hey, we're evidently beating trees now. When to become a lumberjack? Yeah. So in the distance, I hear, just like that loud. I'm sorry for the microphone distortion, but it was that close to us. And I'm like, what in the holy hell was that? And Norm says, or Norm, I don't know why I want to call him Norm, but Lauren says, we need to leave these woods.
Right.
What? He says, we need to leave these woods. Well, we're a mile deep. And I'm like, okay, you don't understand. We need to leave now. Why?
Yeah.
Lauren, that's extremely aggressive Squatch, and we are in his territory. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
He says, you ever heard of the land between the lakes? And I said, yeah, over there in Kentucky. He says, did you know a family was dismembered by a Squatch? What? What? I'm like, what? He says, yeah, they were camping and they were ripped apart by Squatch. You don't want to be that family. So we need to start moving now. So the sightings crew starts gathering their stuff up, and they're looking at him like, are you serious here? I mean, we're spending a lot of money to be out here. He says, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm walking out of these woods. You guys can either stay. In fact, if you don't come with me, almost all the better, because, it's going to be more fixated on you. That changed me right then and there, because I was not a believer in any, and I can't even do justice to the scream. It wasn't, I mean, my scream I just did is absolutely pales in comparison to what I heard. It scared me to a primal level where where you felt like you were the prey. And I was almost just scared stiff, to lack of a better word. And it took me quite a bit to gather my faculties about myself. What did I just hear? What am I hearing in the woods crashing around? What's going to happen to me? And the only thing that was told to me is, don't look up, look at the ground while you're walking. Do not make any gestures that can be taken or posture at all like you are challenging. Just walk. And the whole way we were leaving that 2-mile walk, you heard things next to us, escorting us out of those woods. But it sounded like a truck was driving through the woods. It wasn't like little steps. It sounded like there was a truck driving next to us until we got out of those woods.
Wow.
And it was, and the smell, there was a funk. There was a smell in the air. I can't even describe to this day. It was an absolute terrible smell. It was like crossing a wet dog with the worst garbage you ever smelled, with a few other things thrown in for good measure. But that's how close they were. But we never saw they were right on top of us, right? And but nobody ever saw them. Like, it was just like they knew what they were doing. They knew how to use stealth to their advantage. And they were escorting us out of those woods. And it was a you do not come back. You stay out of these woods feeling. And I never went back to those woods. I was like, you know what? I'm not going back.
Yeah, I was getting excited when you was telling that story, because you done that Yale, and something happened to me when I was 14. Have you ever heard of the infrasound? I'm sure you have.
Yes. Yes. I've done studying on this since. Like, I kind of do a little bit of everything, right? So and Bigfoot is another passion of mine. And infrasound, I start studying it and the effects of it. And when I talked to a lot of experts in the field, like Matt Moneymaker and Bobo and all these
Mhm.
guys that I've met over the years and had a chance to interview, they said the reason why you felt so panicked is it could have zapped you with that. The infrasound.
Right. That's what I was going to say is I call myself, when it comes to Bigfoot, I've always been the ghost guy. I talk about the ghosts and the spirits and stuff. But when I started doing this podcast, a lot of people like to talk about Bigfoot. So I've got to open myself up to the cryptid world here. So I like to call myself a skeptical believer. I want to believe in Bigfoot so bad. But I've just never had an experience except for this one I'm fixing to tell you about. But I've also had people like you and other podcasters out there that's told me stories. These guys are just not going to lie to me. So if they tell me they've seen something like this, then I'm going to believe them because they have no reason to lie to me. There ain't nobody getting rich off telling a Bigfoot story.
Yeah. Yep.
But when I was 14, my stepdad told me to come out on the porch, and we lived way out. And, in Tennessee, we have the knobs, and it's nothing like Minnesota, but we got some mountains around here. I live in the Appalachian Mountains. And he said, come here and listen to this on the porch. And back off over in those knobs, there was just woods and just mountainous areas. There was an old abandoned railroad goes through there too. So I stood there at the edge of the porch and I was listening. I heard that same sound you just described, just this howl, a scream. And man, it sent shock waves through my body. That actually, I'm not going to say it knocked me down, but I fell down and jumped up and ran in the house. And I went in and for the rest of the night, I got real sick at my stomach. But it just, like when you said it, I froze in fear. That's what happened to me. It just shocked my body to the core. And since I've been talking to people, I've learned that's what's called the infrasound. So that's what I was getting excited when you was telling that story, because I was like, I've heard that too,
Yeah, and it's jarring, man. It really is. It is so. Appalachia is full of great.
That's what I hear.
Oh my good Lord. Yeah. You got a lot going on in Appalachia. That is no joke in that area. That is
maybe
no
one
joke.
of these days I'll come across one. I may not want to do that when I actually do find one, but they say this is one up there where you live at in Minnesota, and right here are probably some of the best places to have a sighting. So who knows? Maybe one of these days.
Well, hey, Corky, you see one, you gotta give me a call, man. We got to trade notes, man. We got to trade notes.
No doubt, man.
I wasn't a believer at all in Bigfoot. In fact, I never really, everyone saw the Patterson Gimlin film, and there's a Bigfoot there. It is walking. But I never gave it really much time to think about it. Are these things real? Are these things not real? What's the deal with them? But that was a trial of reality right then and there. It's like, they're real. There's something out here. And
I'm beginning to be more of a believer than not, because I've always put it like this. Not everybody's going to lie about it. And when you have these thousands of sightings and experiences happen every year, not everybody's going to tell you a lie. There's got to be some truth to something that's out there,
Well, it gets better now. We get out.
Oh, okay.
And I get back to the studio and I'm telling them, man, this is what happened. They said, we know because we have it on audio. They actually captured, because my microphone was on, because I was doing that live remote with me and the sound guy, and we're talking, about what we're finding, and I get back to the studio and they had captured the howl.
Wow.
And I listened to it again, and problem was when I listened to it again, it made me just as fearful as the first time I heard it. It's like,
no doubt.
Like maybe I was thinking to some level, maybe I imagined that. Maybe it didn't really happen. Maybe I was just that drawn into what he was saying. That was, power suggestion, right? But no, they had it on audio, and I heard it, and it's like, holy crap, that was real. That was real. So then you sit back, you have to take stock of everything. Like, what did I just live through? That whole thing.
No doubt. That's kind of the way I was thinking back when that happened to me. All I could think of was what just happened, because frozen in fear. I still don't know how to put it, man. It's an interesting thing, man. Nothing else I can figure that's what that was. It sounds like I had the same type of experience you had.
Yeah. When it happens, it so just hits you. There's nothing else like it, in my opinion.
No doubt.
Except for when I talked to a dead guy for 20 minutes, but that's a whole nother story.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What about some of the whole talking to dead people stories? You got any of those?
Dude. Okay, here I am. I'm fresh out of broadcasting school, and I went to Brown. And so I'm looking for
Okay.
a job anywhere, right, to do radio. Like, it's a
Mhm.
hard job to kind of get into.
Mhm.
And I end up getting a job at a country music radio station, WKKQ FM, your number one source for Dallas's best music. So I get this job, and of course, it has to be night shift, right? So, I mean, you're
Right.
new in the industry, you're trying to get some traction to what you're doing, so you end up on the night shift. Well,
Right.
I'm nothing against country music at all, right? So I just want to throw that out there because I've got some hate over that one. But I'm not a country
Oh.
music guy.
Oh,
And
I don't like country music. I'd rather listen to Bigfoot howl all day than listen to a
right.
country
Hey,
song.
man, I'll listen to Led Zeppelin and Metallica and stuff all day long. I'm
all
cool
day.
with all that, right?
Mhm.
But country music, hey, that's your thing. That's your thing. I just want to clear that up
Right.
now.
Right.
So this happened to be a classic country radio station. So I'm talking like a Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, all that old stuff, right?
Well, no, that's a little better than this new
and
stuff.
that
we
is
got
better than the
today,
new
though.
stuff. The new stuff to
Yeah.
me is pop music with a twang.
There
to
you
be
go.
completely
There you
honest.
go.
But so I'm working there, and I'd been there about a year and a half. And every Sunday morning, there was a guy that would come in named Roy Johnson. Great guy, but he was a real cowboy. I mean, not like one of those fake, I'm going to wear the cool hat and stuff cowboy, but the real, he was in his 80s at this point. And he
Mhm.
was the real McCoy. Like, he used to drive cattle from Kansas to Texas, like real cattle drives when he
Right.
was young. So, and he walked like he was a cowboy too, right? So, I mean, he had the whole, the bow-legged walk. And he was a really fascinating dude. And so whenever I had a chance to talk to Roy every Sunday morning, because he'd come in and he did a radio show called On the Trail with Cowboy Roy. And when he would come in, I'd always get the set list ready for him. Put an extra long set on. I'd do like 20 minutes, 25 minutes set. That way, when he came in, he didn't have to rush. He could go in the studio, do what he needed to do, and not feel like he had to go ahead and get on the horn right away and introduce himself. And so, but really what I did was I took that time, I meet him in our break room. Now, this is a 2-story radio station. We broadcast upstairs. Downstairs was our business offices. And to get
Mhm.
downstairs, you had to go down a flight of steps. They were kind of dark, and you get to the business offices. You'd have to walk to the business officers' offices to leave. So Roy is up there, and we're talking in the break room, which is just adjacent to the main studios. And he's drinking his coffee, and we're talking about whatever it was. He's a big baseball fan, and I think Texas Rangers were his team, and we're talking about this, that, and other thing. And I said, "Hey, Roy, I got you all set up. You could just go in the studio. I got you a 20-minute ramp up, which is a set list." And I said, all
Right.
your copy is all ready to go. All your copy for your ads, so you can do your live reads. It's all ready to
Mhm.
go. All you gotta do is go in there, flip the button when you're ready. He says, "All right, partner, I'll go on. I gotta hit the trail." And that's how he talked. And I'd say, "All right, Roy, you have a good one. You too." So I go downstairs. I go down that long corridor, those steps. I go through the business office, and I see my general manager standing there. Now, Dennis was a good guy. Don't get me wrong. But the station would have to be on fire for him to be there on a Sunday. Like, there is
Right.
no way you're dragging this man in on a weekend into this place. But lo and behold, there he is, Sunday morning, about 7 o'clock in the morning, standing there. I'm like, "Hey, Dennis, what are you doing here? Am I getting fired? What's going on? Why are you down here?" He says, I got to cover a shift. I said, "Well, whose shift? The only one here is Roy." He says, "I got to cover Roy's shift." Like, "No, Roy is
Oh.
here. He's upstairs. He made it in. I don't know if he called you sick or what was going on." He says, "No, that can't be." And I said, "I'll take you upstairs and I'll show you." He says, "No, Roy died last night."
No.
I'm like, no. And I'm like, "No, he didn't. He is here." And I'm trying to process what he's telling me. So I go upstairs with him. I said, "You know what? Let's go upstairs. I'm going to prove this to you that he is here." So we go upstairs. The studio is absolutely empty. There's no
Wow.
Roy. But here's the kicker. The styrofoam cup he was drinking out of was still on the table with coffee in it. He was there. I talked to him.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was, I can't explain it, Corky, to this day, how
That's
that
one of
was
the craziest
possible.
stories. That's awesome. What did he look like? Did you notice? Was his clothes
Like ever, like you and me, like he looked the same as he always did. He didn't look any different. Didn't, he just looked like Roy, same old guy he
Wow.
always was. Didn't,
Wow, that's one of the best stories I've heard on here, man. That was good.
it was crazy. It was, and here's the worst part about it. Okay, aside from the fact I talked to a dead guy for 20 minutes, which is hard to
Right.
absorb, but the aftermath of working that night shift, saying to yourself, Roy, do not show up here. Whatever you do not show up here. Do not walk up those steps, because I don't know what I would do, knowing what I know now,
Right.
that you're dead. I mean, now I'd say sit your translucent butt down. We got some questions.
Yeah,
Today
cut this microphone on.
right. But back then, I was 22 years old. I'm 52 now, so I mean that's quite a stretch ago. And I was just happy to have a job in this industry. Then to have to deal with that, was something else.
Anything else ever happened while you worked there? Was that the only experience you had?
No, it was, well, the funny part is this particular radio station was right across the road from a cemetery. So,
Okay.
it was right across the road.
Roy
from
wasn't
the
buried over
cemetery.
there, was he?
No, Roy wasn't buried yet. He ended up being buried there later on.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, he did. And, but he ended up being buried there. But that place, here's the thing though. I have a theory about the radio station thing is, I don't know if you've ever, any of your listeners either work in radio or have ever been in a radio station, but there's a room where they keep all the transmitters, right? And it throws off a massive amount of EMF. In fact, if you go in there with your cell phone into that room, it'll actually kill your cell phone. It'll shut it off.
Really?
There's so much electrical interference. I have a theory. Some of those places like that, they seem to have a little more activity than other places. I think because a lot of that EMF, a lot of that energy being thrown out there, and a lot of people don't discover the paranormal during the day. It's at night that you notice it more, because during the day, everyone's busy doing their thing. They don't notice the little things. But when you're there by yourself in this quiet radio station, just you and the glow of the screen, and you're doing a radio show, you definitely notice the odd things.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
They got a lot of energy they can draw from in there. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. And that particular station was always creepy in there. It was kind of like an older radio station built in probably the 1920s. So kind of that gothic feel to it, it was a brick building, and it was kind of imposing. It was always creepy to be in there anyway, so if you had to go, so back in the old days, you had to go with a clipboard and you had to do what they called your FCC readings. You'd actually have to go to the transmitter and write things down, what it's been doing for that hour and stuff like that. And everybody would run in and run out because everybody had the same creepy feeling. But now we know EMF can give you that creepy feeling. But it definitely, I think, had something to do with ramping up activity as well, though. A lot for it to feed on.
I guarantee it. Is that radio station still there, or is it
Oh,
been
yeah.
torn down?
Yeah, it's still in business. Yeah, it's absolutely
it's still in business. Okay.
Yeah, it's still broadcasting, and so they're still doing their thing, which is awesome. And it was a life-changing moment. And
well, I'll tell you, I don't know how you'll top that story, but have you ever had anything that really scared you, like genuinely scared you? Other than that one, because that would have been terrifying after the fact.
Oh,
I think.
my Lord. Yeah. After the fact, I mean, I had a hard time, to be honest, I had a hard time functioning after that. Yeah. I mean, I don't see how you function every day, but just my mind, wrapping my mind around it. What happens to us after we die?
That's the question.
If he's showing up here, it begs the question.
And then going back to work,
Right. He loved it so much. That was his thing. That was his passion, was doing that radio show, because he connected with people and they loved him. Oh my God. He was a celebrity. People come out of the woodwork to go see Cowboy Roy. I mean, they loved that man.
Cowboy Roy. I'm going to look him up after we get done. I'm curious what he looked like.
Do that. Look
so I was
that
writing
up.
something down.
Yeah, you're good. So yeah, for a little while, it messed with my head. It messed with my head for a little while. And then, I started becoming more and more into the paranormal. Been doing it about 30 years now. And I kind of fell into it, like I said, not willingly, but now I need answers. Now I need to go further. Now I need, because I'm a journalist at heart, right? I got to find out. I got to keep digging for that answer of what this is all about. You know
what's going on.
Yeah, because so many people report so many different sightings with so many different ghostly activity. I mean, they all can't be crazy and they all can't be wrong, and we only need one to be credible. That's it. We only need one case. And there's several cases out there that are absolutely credible that I've come across, and every time I talk to somebody that has experienced a haunting, I tell them that story. I say, you're not crazy because this happened to me. So before you start thinking that you're nuts, listen to this. And they stop. They go, holy crap, that's nuts. I say,
that's
right?
One of the best stories I've heard. Yeah, that's one of the best ghost stories I've heard, man. That's great, man.
You know, and it was true to life. You know, had I not lived it, I wouldn't have believed it. And so after this is all done, you know, I mean, and Roy's come and gone, and I try to tell people what I experienced, especially at work. You know, of course, you get that look like, yeah, sure, he came and sure. So I learned, you know what, you just keep it to yourself, right? Because they just kind of look at you like, whatever.
Joel needs to get some more sleep, I guess.
Right, that man needs to sleep. Exactly. That man needs a nap and maybe a sandwich. Right. And so I started going further and further. And let me tell you, the paranormal community, you know, I don't belong to any like paranormal group or anything. I just kind of go do my own thing. I have met a lot of awesome people, investigated with a lot of awesome people. You know, there's some of the most genuine people out there, you know, and you know, I like to go with a whole lot. I mean, I'm kind of like a paranormal, almost said a bad word, but a paranormal.
Oh, you're good. Hey,
we're
adults here, baby.
All right, man. I'm a bit of a paraslut there when it comes to different groups. Because I like to see how everyone else does it. You know, what's your theory? Doubt. How do you do this? And how do you do this? And how do you know? So I think we all can learn from each other in a lot of ways. So that's why I kind of do that. And I've been blessed enough to be able to do that. Now, I did come face to face with a demon, and that was another life-changing moment. There was a case I was involved with of a young lady that was being, she was a single mother, and her child would stand in one spot for all night, would get up, start sleepwalking, and just stand in one spot, like all night, wouldn't move, like stone statue. And so, you know, I wasn't much of a paranormal investigator yet. I'd maybe had a few years in, but I was well enough. People knew I was looking into this guy's stuff. And she happened to know one of the secretaries at work that said, well, I know a guy at work that kind of looks into this paranormal stuff. Maybe I'll let him know. Maybe I'll come talk to you a little bit. So I show up there, and being the naive individual I was at that time, I was thinking, well, this is just nothing more than a kid being a kid, you know, but at that time, I didn't think about this. Could you imagine standing for 8 to 10 hours in one spot and never moving? I mean,
no,
who does
absolutely
that?
Not.
Right? Who does that? Right?
Nobody does that.
Right? So I show up, and I'm speaking with her, and she's at her wit's end. And I said, well, can you tell me what's going on? She says, you know, I can't own glass dishes. I said, why can't you own glass dishes? She says, because every time I have dishes, they all come flying out of the cupboard at one time and smash. And she had pictures of the aftermath and stuff like that. And she would document her saying, see, I'm putting away my dishes. I'm putting my dishes away. And she would come back the next morning. Every single one would be smashed on the ground, just cleaned out right out of them.
Wow.
So I said, well, okay, well, that's not something you see or hear every day. And she said, oh yeah, by the way, my son Dylan, he gets up and stands for 8 to 10 hours. And I said, how do you know he's doing that? She said, because I put a camera in his room and I watched him do this. He gets up and he stands perfectly statue straight for 8 to 10 hours without moving a muscle. But then he wakes up and he's fatigued and tired. It's like something's trying to beat him down. And I'm like, how do you mean beat him down? She says, I think that it's trying to physically wear him down. So, all right. Well, you know, let's start looking into this a little bit. I said, well, do you mind if I come in and hang out with you guys for a minute and figure this out with you? Maybe there's a perfectly natural, which there is no natural with somebody standing for 8 to 10 hours. At that time, I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking, well, let's tick every box there to make, let's get rid of the normal so we can say it's paranormal. So I ended up saying, okay, let's do an investigation. And I had a buddy of mine, God, his name was Richard. Sweet dude, awesome dude. But not a believer at all in this. But he was a good enough friend to say, you know what, I'll come with you on this investigation thing. I don't believe what you're doing. I don't believe in any of this crap, but I'll come with you. I said, Richard, thank you so much. Because I didn't want to be there alone. I didn't know really what I was doing much. So we get there and she says, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to get a hotel room for the next couple nights. Me and my son, we're going to go to the water park, or we're going to go enjoy ourselves. You can have the run of the house. Just live here. Just basically hang out here. You can have it. It's all right. So we're there and there's a basement steps. So you have the kitchen, and off the kitchen, there was these steps that went to the basement.
Right.
And Richard and I were sitting there, we're drinking coffee, BSing about whatever it is we're BSing with. We hear about that loud coming up those steps. Boom, boom, boom. And Richard says, the hell is that? I said, I don't know. So I go and I open the door slowly, because there's a green door that you'd open, had the old latch, the old school skeleton key would go in it. So open this door. I had the worst smell of sulfur and cold hit me at one time. Like, boom, wow. It was in your face, right? Knock you back. Wow. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I say, I knew nothing about the demonic at this time. Nothing. I knew next to nothing. In fact, that would probably be one of the most dangerous situations to find yourself in, would be a person that doesn't know anything about the demonic, all of a sudden coming face to face with the demonic.
Absolutely.
So here I am. Richard is standing next to me. He goes, what the hell? And I looked at him and I said, what the hell? I said, we're committed. You know what? There's got to be an explanation. There's just got to be an explanation for what we have going on here. It's got to be. I was thinking in my head, was it sewer gas? Was it this? Was it, they're trying to rationalize, because I'd never heard anything like that, aside from the Bigfoot in the woods.
Yeah.
And Cowboy Roy. But anyhow, but my mind was, I was associated the demonic with religion, right? I didn't really associate, right. I didn't really deal with it. So, okay, that's odd. So we're going to mark that as a weird occurrence. So we go back to doing what we're doing. About an hour, about 45 minutes to an hour later, we hear that same boom, boom, boom. But then the door opens on its own. Nothing's there. At this time, Richard is getting ready to die. I mean, he's like, oh my God, I don't believe in any of this. I'm watching this happen. This is not right. Jesus, come save me. He's freaking out. And I'm like, Richard, don't leave me in this house alone. Do not leave me in this house. God, do not leave me in this house alone. I won't. I promise. I won't leave. I won't leave. But this happens one more time. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So all right. Let's just settle down. So this time, I walked to that same door. I opened that door. I left it open on purpose because I sat next to this. Yeah, grabbed a kitchen chair, brought it over with me, sat next to this, waiting. Because I'm like, I'm going to hear this noise and I'm going to peer down there as this noise is going on. And I'm either going to see the worst thing in the world or I'm not going to see nothing. So I'm sitting there by myself. I hear boom, boom, boom with that door open. I stood in that threshold and I got the biggest gut punch a man could ever take. I flew back. Wow. Richard sees me fall back. He says, F this, man. I'm so out of here. He takes off on me. He's out of here. He's out of here I could not keep him in that house. I mean, I can't blame him. He just watched.
Oh, I guarantee it.
A full-grown man get gut punched by something he can't see. And so here I am laying there going, what the hell just happened? Richard's abandoning me. I'm screaming, like, hey, don't leave. F you, man. I'm leaving. And then I hear such a Hollywood moment. Get out. Not EVP, not on a recorder, an actual get out.
Wow.
And I'm like, my good Lord, what did I just get myself into? I mean, I'm sitting here with an EMF detector and my little camera trying to be Mr. Ghost Hunter. And it's like, I brought I brought a dart to a gunfight. I am totally outclassed and outleagued. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. I'm totally concerned now for my own safety. This thing has already shown it can physically harm me. And it didn't like being challenged. It wanted nothing to do with being challenged. So I leave. I'm like, I got to get out of here myself. So I get the better of myself. I actually step outside. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to do at this point. I'm beyond scared. And I know I got to go back in this house, and I know I have to do something here. So I ended up calling the lady like an hour later after this all went down, because I can't get myself to go back in this house. And I said, do you hear a lot of weird noises in your house and stuff like that? She said, yes. I said, have you ever heard anyone say anything into your house? Yes. I said, well, what does it say? And she said, well, it doesn't talk to me. It talks to my son. And I'm like, well, what is this? Is a little nugget of information that she didn't share with me, that not only is this kid standing in the corner like the Blair Witch Project kid, but he's hearing audible voices that are trying to wear him down. That would have been a helpful little bit of tidbit of information to maybe have.
Absolutely.
So I go back in this house, and you could just feel it waiting for me. It is waiting. It is just waiting for me. So I stop. I hear the thumb. I'm like, no, I can't do this again. I can't do it. So I stopped, and I said, I don't know what you are or who you are, but you win. You win, man. You win. So I back out slowly, cautiously, because I still got to grab all my equipment, right? So as you know, as a paranormal investigator, you got stuff all over the house. It's not like you can grab one little bag and, skedaddle out of there. So I got cameras. I got trap cams. I got this. And there's some in the damn basement. And I'm like, oh, bitch. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like reasoning, saying, hey, just leave me alone. Just let me get my stuff. You ever get that, I don't know if it's like a defeated feeling, like, okay, just let me get my stuff and I'll leave you alone. Just totally just owned. Right. So I'm trying to get my equipment, and I'm going to get my equipment, and I have one of those K2 meters, the K2 meters, and you can click it on, it'll stay on, So this is long before like the REM pods were around. So there's those K2, and so those lights are going up and down, up and down.
Golly, Bob.
And I'm like, I'm being screwed with, man. I'm totally being screwed with right now. It's totally in charge. It knows it's in charge. So I gather my equipment and I leave, and I'm thinking to myself, what did I get myself into as I'm leaving? How am I going to help this person? Because they're in far deeper than I am, because they got to come back here. Did I make this worse? Because now, by trying to shed some light on it, because demons, they like to work in anonymity. They don't like being called out. They don't like, I've learned this since, that they don't like challenges. That's not them. They hate all that stuff. So I go home, and I lived alone at the time. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what I just went through, but I went through something, and I'm going to have to figure something out for this poor gal. I can't just leave her hanging here. I just can't say, well, I'm too scared to do anything. So I'm home. 2 days later, I hear boom, boom, boom at my house. And I'm like,
there we go.
Oh, so I ended up making some phone calls. I knew a couple of guys, that knew something, and I'm like, hey, can I get a little help? And one of those people was Bishop James Long. And the only reason why I knew him was I happened to interview him at a show I did, and I got a hold of him, and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And he told me, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in some trouble. Because it's really liking you right now. You need to get clean. You need to get this funk away from you. And of course, he helped me out. And then, of course, he got the people that I was trying to help, that I did not help, that I made tenfold worse in their house after I left. He was able to get them the help they needed. My only advice to the would-be paranormal investigator, from my experiences, if you're not ready or you don't know what you're dealing with, just don't do it. Just don't, because there's things out there that we don't understand.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you was when you were going in there, what was your plan? Had you had any training or was you just going to go in there?
I was like, it's probably, let's see if we could document an EVP. I would have been happy with an EVP. I would have been happy with any kind of evidence, thinking, well, this is going to be, just any kind of evidence, right? Because that's what I was used to at this point was, oh, listen, my EVP does. Isn't that cool? That kind of thing. I was not ready at all. And today I'm not ready. I mean, if I had to deal with it today, I wouldn't be ready.
Well, there's a difference in then investigating than actually going to try to get rid of something. I think that's a whole nother avenue there.
That is a whole nother bag of cats, man. That is,
wow.
And I've also seen the aftermath where people have tried to get rid of things and botched it. I've seen that, especially, when they know just enough to be dangerous and they go in there with a little sage and they think it's going to clear it all out. And it doesn't, sometimes it does, but most of the time it doesn't. And it leaves these people holding the proverbial bag, of a job not very well executed.
That's what I was going to ask you. Have you learned some steps to take so you don't bring nothing home with you?
Oh,
again,
absolutely.
Or anything like that?
Absolutely. Number one, arrogance should not be on an investigation, really.
Right.
I mean, that's really something that, in my opinion, leaves you open, right? So, and also I'm firm about myself. I have a much better spiritual hygiene about myself these days. I also, I say, hey, you know what? You got to stay where you are. I cleansed myself with salts. All that stuff when I'm done. But the biggest thing is self-empowerment. Hey, you know what? You got to stay where you are. But another thing for me, don't challenge, in my opinion. Don't go face to face with it and be like, you son of a bitch, you're going to talk to me. You think you're tough, talk. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, everybody knows that certain ghost show that comes on TV where that happens every single show,
Yeah. Then that's it. And from my experience, if you run into one, you've run into one demonic. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in your soul. There is a whole different level there than just a normal haunting, just a normal investigation, quote, unquote, normal investigation. It's a whole different ballgame. You got to figure these things are older than the earth itself. They got nothing but time.
Wow. And that definitely, you don't want to go up against something that you don't know nothing about, man, because that's one of the reasons I used to want to be a paranormal investigator, but now I'll just sit behind the desk and talk to people about it because that stuff can get serious. We make fun and joke around about it, but I really do believe in that stuff. And if you really do come across something like that, it could be a serious situation if you don't know how to handle it,
Yeah. If you don't want to if you don't want to find snakes, don't go looking for them. Number one. Exactly. And when you do find the snake, you better know what to do with that snake, right? Because you will. These days, I'm kind of like you. I do investigate occasionally. I'll go out with groups and stuff like that. And we have a good time. I'll go with the listeners and we'll go like to a big haunted, like Waverly Hills, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. I find myself not having the, for lack of a better term, appetite I once did to put myself in those situations. And
no doubt.
Because once you kind of get that reality checker, you can always tell the guy that's been there, done that, and the guy that hasn't been there, done that yet, because the arrogance comes out, like, that's just a paranormal. Oh, dude, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Dude, that sounds awesome. What's the most haunted place you've ever investigated at?
Aside from the demon house, that was pretty haunted. A couple private homes, but as far as something I can mention, I wrote a book. I've written 4 books now. 4 being published,
really? Okay.
1 in development. One of them is the Ultimate Midwest Road Guide, where I take you to all 50 places I've been to myself in the Midwest.
Okay.
So I actually take them on a road trip and I say, hey, this place sucks. This place wasn't worth it. I give the honest opinion, like, It was all right, Bachelor Cemetery, that was pretty haunted. That was a lot of fun, a lot of activity going on. It's always the ones always got me were the little out of the way places that, you go somewhere and they go, our cemetery is pretty haunted. It's pretty crazy. And you go there and it's like, you were not freaking kidding. This place is crazy. And it's those little places you never suspect that are the most haunted, right? And I think part of that is because they're not being traipsed over by a million people, right? So I mean, it's not like, like every Tom, Dick, and Harry's out there looking for a ghost there. It's very out of the way, and you get there and maybe the spirits aren't used to people at all. So they're very interested in why you're here, so you get more activity.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so I know that Villisca in Iowa was pretty active, but the problem with a lot of these public, and that's what I put in the book, of course, is all public places anyone can go to, if they decide to, if they want to go. And that's the reason for that. So you get out there and you have fun, you go to places. But the thing of it is when you go to a place that's had like let's just say a Villisca, Iowa, that's had up to 1,000 investigators go through there. What crap are they bringing in with them? Right.
Exactly.
Even though they leave, what residuals did they leave them behind? So it's not like a clean investigation. If you're looking for thrills and fun, that perfect, do it, go do that. But if you're looking to further the field of the paranormal, that might not be the place if you're looking for pure evidence, because you don't know what they brought in with them. But other than that, it's a fun time. I recommend, if you're interested, if anyone's interested, there's nothing wrong with going to as long, a public haunted place that you pay to go into and you have fun. Just understand there's still a danger involved. You still got to watch yourself, But Bachelor's Grove was good. The Willard Library, oddly enough, in Illinois was pretty good too. That was more active than I was anticipating it being. There's quite a few, and there's Foundations is the place that is. It's a book publisher that they're going to be out this fall, all my books. And another one I wrote was the American Cryptid Hunters Field Guide, where I show you in the book how to go look for Bigfoot, and this is how you do this, and this is how you do that. And then I also did the Ultimate Paranormal Investigators Field Guide. So, this is, what you can do if you choose to do it this way. I kind of approach it from a scientific point of view. This is what you should do, or, my opinion, this is what you should do, because there's a million different opinions out there and they're all valid, just what I do,
That's fascinating. Where can you get your books?
As soon as they are released, Barnes and Noble and all the bookstores will be carrying them. So yeah, this will be set for a wide release. Yeah.
You said be later this year?
Yeah. We're shooting for an October release. So, we're hoping to get that done. So yeah, it's been I've never published a book before. And so during COVID, I started sitting down and just started writing, because I'm not a writer. I'm a radio host, right? But what's hilarious is I write just like I talk. So when you're reading the book, it sounds just like me talking to you. That's what people tell me. Wow, you write just like you talk.
Well, there's definitely nothing wrong with that, man.
No, I didn't think so either, man. Corky, okay, host, switching it around on another host. Come on, man. You got a story?
Oh, I've got anytime somebody asks me that question, I go back 6 years and I moved into the house I'm sitting at right now. This house was built in 1864, so you can imagine all the history this place has. But when I moved into this place, it was something like you'd see on TV, like Amityville Horror or something like that. Anything you've seen on TV, I promise you it happened to me in this house. And it got to the point we had to bring in the church. We had to do certain things to get the house clear. And possession, you name it, it happened. The first 4 months I lived here was like something you'd watch on TV. Absolutely.
I'm sure you've told this on
I have.
show.
I'll send you a link to a podcast that I was on, and I actually told it takes me an hour to tell the story.
We're going to have you on my show.
Just let me know.
I'd love to have you, man. Come on and talk, about that.
If you've seen the Amityville Horror, have you seen that movie?
Yeah, yep.
Do you know the scene where all the flies show up and everything?
Yep.
That happened right in my dining room.
Dude.
I promise you this, possession, time loss. Cause this was where I live here in East Tennessee, this was obviously a plantation house. And you can go down in the basement still, and there's still piles of coal down there to where, I guess the house workers or slave, I don't know, I don't know the history of the house, but they would, there's little small windows down there, and that's where they would dump the coal through those windows. Then the workers or whoever would put the coal into the furnaces and everything. And there's still a room in my basement that's boarded up, concreted up. Don't know what's in it, but that was the slave quarters down there. I have no idea what's in that room. And as long as I live here, I'm not going to know what's in that room. But I've told everybody the day I move out, we're going to open that room up down there because it's padlocked. Can't get in it.
Yeah. So, I mean, could that's the last thing you want to do is open up that can of worms and then, of course, have to live there. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
No, that's a good call because I've heard of people. People have come to me and they've written me or they've called me up because we have a studio line, and they'll be like, "I opened a door in my house. I didn't even know the room was there, and now everything's going crazy. And what do I do? Did you close the door?"
It's yeah. Yeah, I've got buddies that are big paranormal investigators, and they're just begging because they'll come in here. I'll let them go down to the basement because the basement's kind of like, it's still like dirt walls. It's one of those old creepy basements, man. Yeah,
like
it's
stone
old
foundation, right? Like stone foundation.
It's like a concrete floor and gravel down there, but like there's just the walls are dirt.
Yeah,
and man, this house is. We have tried to research this house, and we can't find anything on it. We just know it's built in 1864. It's quite a big house, but man, I wouldn't even want to know the history of this house. I can go in my dining room. And that's one of those rooms where you just like, there's something went down in here because you can just feel it. That dude, I could talk for an hour about this house, man. It's crazy.
You just feel how thick it is in that environment that it's, No, I got you. My house was built in 1881. This one I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
And so she saw some of her own. I have pictures of this house where it was used as a funeral parlor. Where the people would
that about this house. Cool.
Yeah, they used to just put the bodies out there, and people come in and right in my what is now my part of my living room, they had caskets out there and they had pictures. Well, they used to take pictures of dead people back in the day too. The family would get together and yes, and I had pictures. My own family did that. My great grandfather, I think, founded the city of Sturgis, South Dakota, out there. And so I have a lot of that family history going on, and it was interesting what those people. I have his journal, and so reading what it was like back then, was just something else, But yeah, back then the house doubled as the funeral parlor. That's where a lot of people.
I get the feeling this house did. I get the feeling it's that dining room I told you about. I kind of get the feeling that's where they would put I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I get that feeling here. I really do.
Well, the original, remember what they used to call sunrooms? You go in a house and they'd say, we have a sunroom, or we have this, or sitting room. A lot of those are double as what you're talking about. And that's why they were constructed was, like a sitting room. And it didn't mean like sitting and hanging out. It was a sitting room where you put the casket. So,
and see, my living room now, the whole front wall of it is window, like from floor to ceiling wall. So that would be in the sunroom, sitting room.
Yep.
And so I tell you what's weird. When we moved in, the walls in the living room were the brightest red you've ever seen in your life. Just an odd color red that nobody would paint their walls this color of red.
Yeah.
And on the wall, there was a 4 foot by 3 foot golden frame on the wall with nothing in that frame, but just the frame hanging there.
Just
I told my wife, I said, that's like a freaking portal or something like that. Because moving in, I knew moving in. I was like, you're excited. You're moving into this. Because we'd always lived in this small house. We was getting this big old house,
Yeah.
But I knew good and well, you could feel it as soon as you move in. But it's like me and my whole family, nobody were telling each other that, hey, we had this go on or we were sensing this. But, when we went through everything and everything came to a head, everybody come out and said, yeah, I've been going through this. I've been going through that. And so we all just started spilling Yeah. It was a crazy happening, man. It really was.
Man, that is something else, man. I'd love to be able to talk to you about that on
Oh,
my
you
show.
just let me know, buddy. We'll
So,
set it
no,
up.
I'd
I'll
love
send
to,
you the
man.
link to that podcast.
Yeah, do
you
that.
can check it
do
out.
that. Love to check
Yeah.
that out, man. Definitely.
Well,
Definitely.
most definitely. You just let me know and we'll work something out, Joe.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, hey, buddy, is there anything else you want to get out there? Where can everybody contact you and all that good stuff before we get on out of here tonight?
You know what? I'm over there on Facebook a lot, so just look up Joel Sturgis. You message me, I always answer. You know, I don't care.
Mhm.
You know, yeah. Talk to everybody. You know, find me at iHeartRadio. I have my own page over there. We have the After Hours AM page. Check it out. Listen to a few episodes. Hang out. You know, I'm everywhere kind of deal. You know, if you want to talk to me or friend me on Facebook or talk to me, whatever. Yeah, I'm open. I don't shy away from
All
anybody.
right.
You know, we all
Sounds
hang
like a
out.
plan, dude.
All right,
I'm
man.
going to look you up on, what is it, iHeartRadio as soon as we get done here. That's going to be awesome.
Type it After Hours in the old iHeartRadio.
Joel, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and just sharing some of your experience. I got a feeling you've got a lot more. Maybe we can have you back on another time. You can tell us some more stuff, man.
Love to.
I really appreciate it, man. Hang around here, Joel, when I stop recording and we'll chat for a second. But for everybody else, all right, for everybody else, thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate Joel coming on and sharing just a few of his experiences with us tonight, guys. Well, having said that, we'll catch everybody later. Bye, everybody.
The unknown awakens, hear the echoes grow loud. We're diving deep, join the curious crowd. In the paranormal war room, we take flight, bringing the spooky vibes, shadows and light. With every beat, the legends we explore, unleashing the spirits, we're ready for more. Striking down like thunder from the skies. Cryptids lurking near, in the darkness they rise. Paranormal tales that will twist your mind. Tune into the mystery, leave the norm behind. In the war room we fight with the strange insight. Unveiling truths in the paranormal war room. We take flight, bringing the spooky vibes, shadows and light. With every beat, the legends we explore, unleashing the spirits, we're ready for more. So hit that subscribe, don't be left in the dark. Join us in the war, let's make our mark.